Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Well, the dash for the 64 is finally complete. I did find my last bracket and got it cleaned up and installed. All parts are in. I even found, you can see the faint outline. That's the backing plate for the 6x9 speaker that goes in there. So I took it apart, got it installed, and that is it. Now, the ashtray and glove box, I end up throwing another coat of paint on them. They're right there, looking purty as ever. But we're leaving the dash alone for a bit because I got the use of an engine hoist, and I'm going to try to get that engine into the 64. I hope everybody is doing great. Yes, I have the use of an engine hoist. A friend of mine let me use it. This is the Princess Auto Special with a bit of an upgrade. He ended up notching out the end of the post, getting rid of that stupid pin and chain, and put in a swivel hook, which I think is an excellent idea. You no more worries about a chain being half sideways all the time. You're trying to hold the engine. You can just spin that hook to wherever it needs to go. But we got to do some prep here. Got to get rid of my carburetor, get rid of my kickdown cable. I got some new motor mount bolts, the main bolts that go into the frame. Got some good grade 8s. That one there, I think it's welded. I think it's welded to the underside of that bracket. The other one dropped out when I took the engine out, but that one does seem to be welded in. I would like to get rid of it, so we're going to get in there, and I'm going to see how hard it is to remove that. Doing a little dry run here, a little test fit. The car is long. In order for this to reach basically where it's going to be grabbing from the intake, I am all the way out to the half-ton mark. Now this engine, she's between that 800, 900 pounds with the transmission. So it's going to be out there. I'll be watching it. It is a straight, well, no, it's not a straight tube. That's right, I got some locks in there. I don't know if I could have a piece of steel, another piece of steel to slide in there. But we'll lift it up off the stand. We'll give it a little wiggle test to see what it's going to do. But it will reach. So now I got to get my jack under there because I want some better support, because I am going to do this with the jack stand on the jack stands. But I'm going to put my big jack under the front here and help take up that weight. Also, it'll stop some movement. And I'm going to get some cribbing outside. I got some big 6x6s. I'm going to put that under the back frame as well too, just in case I bump it or wiggle it or jiggle it or something and moving it around. But this will make it much easier so that as I'm putting the engine in and I got to align the tail shaft of the transmission, I can get back and forth underneath it and whatnot. Because with this thing on the ground, I got about 8 inches clearance and I ain't fitting. So anyway, let's move things back around, hook up the engine, and see if we can get it hanging. Engine is off the cradle and it is hanging like level, like the way it would sit in the car. Which sounds good, but actually going to be a problem. I'm going to have to get the tail shaft down so I can ease it down underneath before it goes all the way in. But that's not a big deal. Like I said, it's so balanced. All I'm going to have to do is put like a ratchet strap around here. I'll put the nice soft end on, and I can come up to my the top of my jack here and just pull that front end up, which will push the back end down. Now, another issue I had is every strap I had, I even borrowed a strap from work, my chains, everything ended up being too long to get the engine up high enough over there because of the hook. So I ended up taking my strap, going underneath my intake, and I just looped it all around the top there. Now I went behind the pin, and then around in front of the pin, then back behind, so it can't slip off either way. Then I wrapped all the existing stuff down to the end here, and I ended up having this pin turn the other way, and I put a wrench on it, and I like cammed it over, which tightened it up, though. Even though it's tight out there, all this is loose, so no slippage is falling its way back here. I made sure when I wrapped this that I latched it, just like a clove hitch, and went over top of itself, so that more weight that pulls, the tighter it grips the top of that. But we're in position. This stud here for the motor mount, I cannot get it out. It's welded. It's part of the plate. So it's going to stay. It's the same thread as the other ones I got, so that's fine. But I just hope that it's good. If it does shear off, well, I'll have to worry about that down the road. But it is welded to the bottom of that plate on a big, I don't know what, not even a nut. It's a big square piece. Not sure why the other side is off. Maybe that side broke off at some point. But give it a go. We're gonna do it as it is. We're gonna get that engine in there. Okay, things are lining up good. Got my little ratchet strap here, which just one little pull, you can see how much I can move the tail of that transmission. I got it on a good angle. It's ready to start going under. I just need to clear the front member here, just so I can get it in behind the oil pan. Then I can start leveling that out and getting her closer to line up there. But things are looking good. We're nice and aligned. Just gonna have to watch my cables here going by the bracket. And I gotta make sure I don't get them stuck between the motor mount and the motor mount here. Make sure everything goes by nice and smooth. But things are going good. All right, just taking a break here for a second. Got it leveled out, got my end off. Now the tail of my tranny is just sitting against the top of the tunnel and doesn't take much weight. I can lift the front with my hand. So now I'm just above the mount. So now I gotta slowly work it in. I gotta go back about about 1.5 feet, I figure. The valve covers come like pretty close to the back of the firewall here. But it's going good. So far, so good. Things are looking all right. Lined up. Nothing bound up. Actually, I gotta go to the right-hand side of the car just a little bit. I think we'll get her. No motor. I found her. She's in. 361 is back into the 64 Chrysler. Man, it wasn't too bad. Getting the tail into the transmission lined up with the bracket was something else. That was an issue. The spring on it was so tight I couldn't compress it, and it was hooking on it, but my oil pan was coming down onto my front cross member here, so I couldn't let the engine and the transmission down anymore. So unfortunately what I had to do is I had to get it shoved back tight so that the oil pan was just on the back edge of the cross member, let the weight off and let it kind of like slip down, like it kind of dragged down the side of it and went back. Then I was able to line up the spring at the tail of the shaft. Now I did scrape a little bit of paint off the oil pan, but there's no dent, no damage, so that's good, real good. Everything's fitting real nice. I got nice room around here to fit everything. Got a little more room on this side. This side here, they come up, this one cable just touches the top of the control arm. I don't think it's a big issue. I might get a piece of hose and split it so I can wrap it around this so it just sits on the edge there just to make sure it doesn't chafe. But one thing I found out, if you look here, that hole is dead center of the frame and the engine's not quite lined up with it. And that's because the motor mounts are offset. I got down in here with a tape measure just to make sure I didn't do something wrong. But the main motor mounts where they weld to the cross member are almost 3/4 inch to the right-hand side. So that puts the engine, the front of the engine, to the right of the car, but the tail of the transmission is dead center. I measured that as well too. So my drive line through my crank isn't a straight continuous line down the machine. It's kind of out and then just a little bit straightens up and goes to that back diff. Now I'm sure the engineers at the time had a reason for that. Maybe there's a common reason for it, and I just don't know. But when I first dropped it in there, I started to get a little worried for the first few seconds there. I was like looking at that thinking, what did I do? But she's in. She's in, fitting good. Motor mount bolts are just finger tight, so the transmission bolts, still got to mess around with those. I'm not going to crank them down tight till I get the get the drive shaft on to make sure everything's good there. But I've got lots of room in my tunnel. My wires all come out nice and smooth. My cable for my kickdown, got lots of play. And underneath I can shove my hand up around the transmission housing, the bell housing, and the tunnel. And I got lots of room there, so nothing's touching. So next is to start running some more wires. All right, cruising right along. As you can see, I have a drive shaft mounted hooked up, torqued down, and ready to go. Everything is awesome. I even got my pinion bolt close enough. It calls for 240 foot-pounds. Laying on my belly, kind of pushing my butt against the bottom of the car and doing a, what do you call it, a tricep curl, the pushing down part, almost like a reverse curl. 233 is as far as I can break the bar out, and that's where she's staying. Now, when it goes in for the inspection, I can see if the guy will let me do it there in the shop, or maybe he'll do it, and we'll take the shaft off, loosen it off, tighten it back down, and get the proper torque of 240 foot-pounds. Now, I've also been busy doing a bunch of wiring. So I kind of jumped right on this, just nothing to it but to do it. And I've started running the wires front of the hood here, and basically this is everything. I use more of that covering. This is my one coming up to the front of the car, going to the headlights and whatnot. And I did my best covering the main part of the harness, which did not turn out as aesthetically pleasing, we'll say, as I was hoping. In my mind, I pictured this perfect straight line, nice curve, and going at the back. But you know what? It is what it is. That stuff was hard to get on. The cable's way bigger than what that sheathing is made for. But I did get it on there, and I mounted my different components to where they were when I took them off. Horn relay, of course. It's the original. It's got to go. I still need a new one. Ballast resistor. I got to stay away from everything. It gets hot, and it'll probably almost turn cherry red if she was metal. But that'll be singing hot the whole time. And they like to blow a lot, so we'll have one of those in the glove box. And then we got voltage regulator and the actual starter relay down here where everything goes and everything is where it should be and hooked up properly. Now I did more Deutsch connectors. Did another one there. Did another one on the backside again. I did it again. And I got a new tool. I got my own tool this time for doing them. Sorry for the mess over here. Just a disaster. But I ended up getting a new tool. New Tool Friday it was. There. So that is your open barrel double crimper, just like the one that I borrowed. So because these barrel crimps, they recommend 2 crimps on the end of those barrels at all times. And this does both at the same time, which is good. And it's adjustable just like the other one I had. And it worked good. It worked really good. Gonna start a TikTok shop and start lining things up on there that I use that I like. So I won't show you the number now. Give it a couple weeks. You have to go on or give it a week or so. You have to go on there, check the link on this video, and hopefully I'll have a TikTok shop set up. If you order a set or order anything I got on there, I think they throw $1 at you or something like that. But now on to the next mess of making all my battery connections and my terminals. So I have all the old ones here, of course, which is easy to mock up, get the measurements, and I have a big old tickle trunk of wire and stuff that I just never threw away from days of doing odds and ends. This is good 00 gauge wire. I also got good trailer wire. This actually might work good for going to the back of the car for running all the lights and whatnot. But yeah, I kept a lot of that for over the years, which made it so I could make all these nice new connectors for my battery, for my starter, and also my chassis ground and motor ground. Now I got everything soldered on. Nothing's crimped. I don't like the crimped way of doing things. I don't think it's good. I guess it's good enough, but soldering them on is definitely the way to go. Much better. So I have my covered one here. Now this is the main one going down to the starter. Now the starter, of course, is right underneath the exhaust manifold, and there's going to be a downpipe there. So I got some of this stuff here was on the original cable. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's made out of cotton or what, but when you put the torch to it, it don't burn. It turns black and smolders a bit, but it does not burn at all. So where this goes down here, it's going to be close to that downpipe. I put a big chunk of it on there just to kind of save it. And then this will come up, of course, to my starter relay. And that'll be the first half. And then from the starter relay, There'll be this one. And this will be the positive connection to my battery tray. That's going to be right here. And that'll be the positive for the battery. Then going from the motor itself, got a nice big heavy gauge cable as well too. It'll be grounded to the side of the block, bolted on. And then there's a nut inside here. So I'll be running a stud or a bolt through there. And I'll have another one coming off here, going to the negative on the battery. So I'll have negative from the battery, grounding to chassis, which will do everything through the dash and anything else I'll put through the car. And then of course from chassis to motor, because the motor is isolated on rubber mounts up front, and also rubber spacer for the mount on the transmission. So none of this actually touches the frame, but I need it for my sensors and whatnot on here. And make sure that it grounds out. So that'll be motor to chassis, chassis to battery, good to go. So that all went in there nice and easy. Got the big cable going from motor to chassis. And then of course I got the other one coming off. That'll be chassis coming up to my battery. Just got that on there loose right now, bolted in, because I will have to take this off once I figure out how long this needs to be to put my end on. I have to take that off so I can solder it. And then going down to the starter, I have my starter wire permanently mounted down there. Got my abrasion and heat shield on. It's going to work awesome. You know, it's not real close to the manifold, but close enough. Don't want to have to melt wires and burn things. And of course, I got it coming up to my starter solenoid. It's tied in for the solenoid itself. Oh, sorry, the starter relay. Solenoid's tied on. The main wire coming up. And of course, this will be the positive that ends up going to the battery. But the same thing, we'll leave it loose so I know how long it's going to be. I'm thinking a G78 battery will probably work well in here. I like to keep it down to 7 inches wide. Length, I'm good on length and I'm good in height. But 7 inches wide, so it'll probably be around a G78 battery. That'll give me around 850 cold cranking amps, which should be more than enough. Though when I ran it and tested it, I tested it on 1050, but it turned it over pretty good, and it started, you know, the first couple cranks, and it was good to go. So now, time to mount in that battery tray again, more permanent. And I think I'm going to put in my front rad support. Just finger tight, but it's time to start getting that in place and seeing how that's all going to fit together. Shabamo! That went together fairly quick. A million bolts in this thing holding this thing together, but everything fit in there, fit in good. We got my front cross member, which is a support for the hood latch, which goes back onto his large support, which helps hold the wind dam in tight, and of course the rad support, which ties everything together right down to the battery box, and yeah, it's all in there. Now everything is just finger tight right now. All bolts are in, every hole got a bolt. So, well, I shouldn't say anything's missing because I put all new bolts in it, but I got everything lined up and ready to go. Now this is gonna probably pull the front of this car together about quarter, well, you know what, almost a half inch. She's gonna come together with a half inch, which is gonna give me my hood gap, which is gonna be nice, because when I had this hood tested here a while ago, it was so nice coming up, and then it opened right up big at the front, and I never even thought about the fact that I had this out. And this one here is quite flexible. It's almost touching, but it's still up here out a half inch, quarter on each side. So that'll definitely take care of that. Now, I know a lot of Mopar guys out there, they don't like looking at the front of the car and seeing the red in behind here. They would prefer all this all blacked out in here on both sides, and also all inside here on the front side of the rad support. My whole thing from the beginning of building this car was to see red inside. When you look at the front, I want to see some red. Now, you're going to see very little red. This is going to be a big silver piece, of course, because the radiator is taking up that hole. But the slats that are in this grill are so small, it's going to be just a hint of it. And you know what? It might not be the exact way, but it's the way I like it. And as much as I ask for input and stuff, there's some things that are just going to be my way because I'm building it and I think it looks good. And that is where we are going to leave this week's video. She's looking nice. But I have a ton of mess to clean up. There's not a surface in this shop that isn't packed with something. Got enough drawers open that might have something fall over here soon. So that's how I'm going to end my week cleaning. And then next week, well, you know what? Maybe 2 weeks. We'll see. But we'll keep rolling right along on the 64 and slowly getting ready to move into the full wiring of this dash and getting that in the car, which I am not really looking forward to. You know what? I'm not a fan of the wire. I don't like them. Hard to keep the smoke inside the wires too sometimes. But anyway, as always, thanks for following along. Hope you guys have a great week. And catch you again later.